What's the deal with gluten? It's a buzzword right now. You guys are hearing about it. You're probably seeing about it in newspapers, magazines. It's on all these food labels. You've come across it on Tinder. Whether you swipe right or left is based on someone's gluten tolerance. I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on gluten. I am not an expert on gluten. Here's a little summary of it, and hopefully it helps you understand it just a little better. Gluten. It's an insoluble protein. We don't have to worry too much about that. Just understand it's primarily in wheat, rye, and barley. It's really what's responsible for that elasticity and chewiness in wheat and in dough, bread, pasta. The reason when we're eating those foods, we love the texture of it. It reminds us of childhood. That's gluten. What's it? What's a gluten? Everything's a gluten these days, but that's really what gluten is. So when you're eating those types of foods and you're enjoying that texture, remember, cool, that's gluten. The problems. People have problems associated with gluten. 3 major ones that I'm going to break down for you. The first one is wheat allergy, and it's highly uncommon. It's not as common as most people think. And when we think about wheat allergy, we think of runny noses, watery eyes, itchiness, hives, scratchy throat, when you're swollen in the morning. Those things are a wheat allergy, and you can go get yourself checked out for that. The most important, scariest one is celiac disease, and that's actually inherited. You're either born with it or you're not. You're not going to develop celiac disease, and if it's untreated, it can be super dangerous. It can be really dangerous, causes cancer, terrible for you. Like 1 in 100 to 1 in 200 people actually have celiac disease. And you would know it by now, and it would be tearing up your gut. Every time you ate anything like that, you'd have diarrhea. So if you've never experienced that, you're probably safe. Lastly, the big one is non-celiac gluten sensitivity. That's really the big one that we're seeing these days. It's more and more common. You would have things like fatigue, you have gluten, you get run down, you're tired, this thing called brain fog where you're just not thinking super clearly, rashes, and that's the most common of them all. And it's the thing about it is if you eat gluten regularly, you might not realize you had it. I'll give you a quick story of myself. I went on a clean eating bender, if you will. I cut a lot of things out. I think it's good to do once in a while, regardless of your eating style. And I cut it out for a while, meaning wheat and barley and rye, pasta bread, and I was heading out to California for a week, and one of my clients made me this big bowl of sesame noodles. Donna, if you're watching, thank you for those sesame noodles. And huge bowl, and I was literally leaving for California that night, so I didn't want to waste it. I ate this entire bowl of sesame noodles. Flew to California, woke up the next day covered in a rash, completely covered in a rash, and I was like, I have bed bugs. I went down to the front desk, told them there were bed bugs, and they did a search. They didn't find bed bugs, and I realized, wow, I had a reaction to those noodles. Got myself some Benadryl next door, cleared up right away. But the point is, you have to test some of that stuff, because what's going on is we're not just allergic to gluten, but we could be allergic to other sugars that are within these wheat, rye, and barley products. So it's not always just gluten. Test it, because what we're finding is something called the Nocebo Effect. You've probably heard of the placebo effect. Here, take this and you'll feel better. Might just be a sugar pill, but because you believe you should feel better, you actually do. Well, the nocebo effect works the same way, except it's by removing something. So these people are out there hearing about gluten, their best friends telling them gluten is the devil, you have to avoid it, and then they remove it and they feel better all of a sudden because of the nocebo effect. But in reality, it's not really doing anything to their body biologically. Now, if you feel better because you remove it, hey, more power to you. Enjoy that. But the nocebo effect is just more of a mental thing. So what I would recommend is try this out. We all know my lifestyle is flexible eating. Right now, my body reacts just fine to Pop-Tarts and donuts or pasta. I'm sure if I cut some of those things out for an extended period and added them back in, just like when I did with the noodles, I'd find my body doesn't tolerate it as well. But you have to check that for yourself. Everybody is different. Some people handle gluten just fine, some people don't. Some people have a wheat intolerance. The point of this is to give you a little bit of an education on what gluten is and to give you a bigger picture of everyone is different. You have to test it out. If someone's telling you do this, this, or this without knowing you, don't listen to them. Listen to yourself. Every human body reacts different to different foods. See how your body reacts to gluten before making any decisions.